So, good morning, everyone. So, before anything else, let me tell you a short story. So, my grandfather had a large piece of land. So, before he passed away, he sold it to his only son, which is my tito, for him to manage the land. But then, my tito moved to Manila to live there. So, he sold it to his younger sister, which is my mother. They have five siblings, one boy, which is my tito, and four girls. So she bought it. But when my grandmother died, one of her sister insisted on claiming it. But until the lawsuit reached. But then my dad did not continue to file the case so that there would be no trouble. So let me ask you a question. Do you fell in love to someone else, but then in the end you did not fight for it? You did not fight for it. So you may say that, what's the connection of that? So the connection of that is um, choosing for peace. Because if we will continue to fight for it, it might cause chaos. So it is connected to our topic for today. So last year, 2021, in the month of April, the issue resurfaced about the West Philippine Sea. But how did it really start, and why it is important for us to fight for our sovereign rights in the West Philippine Sea? So first, West Philippine Sea is the name given to the part of China which is included in our exclusive economic zone of the Philippines. 200 nautical miles is the extent of the EEZ, which it means that we do not claim the whole ocean, unlike China that they claim 80 to 90% of the ocean. So we have all the rights to get whatever the marine resources there. You may say that, can we share it to others? Yes, probably. We can share our marine resources to others, but um, but in the state of the Philippines, why should we give our fish to our neighbors who are much richer than us? And did you know that the large vessel of China can get tons of fish compared to what our Filipino fishermen get? So, it's a broad issue because we can see the impact of it to our Filipino fishermen and to our country as a whole. So, in this territorial dispute, it is not only the Philippines are involved here, but also Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan. So, but why China wants to own the West Philippine Sea? Why they want to expand? So, it is because of their historical rights. So, the South China Sea is very important to Beijing because it's a crucial commercial passage connecting Asia with Europe and Africa. And also, the seabed here is rich in major oil and gas reserve. But according to tribunal court, there has no legal basis for China to claim the historical rights to resources within sea areas falling 9-dash line. But China did not recognize the arbitral ruling favor to the Philippines. And now we can see that China wants to control the whole ocean. They created many artificial island there. One of those is the Panganiban Reef or the Mischief Reef, which is the most armed island of China. So it is very alarming. So we also hear the Spratly Island, which is almost claimed by the Chinese. So we see how powerful the Chinese are, and the Philippines itself has no power to fight against the Chinese. And so we see the reaction of our president to that. He said that war is the only solution to surrender sea claims, and we can reclaim it without bloodshed. And so our president wants to remain friends with the Chinese government and share whatever we have. But he assured that if Chinese start mining, drilling our oil, and getting precious stones, he take an action to it. But now he does not want to quarrel against Chinese. So do you remember the story that I tell you earlier? So it's just the same from what my parents did. So in order to remain the peace, they think that it might cause trouble, so they think that the only solution to that is to share our land to our aunt. But the problem is, my aunt already claiming it, and they did not allow us to do any activity to our land, which is not right. So on the other hand, as a Filipino citizen, what action can you take in the territorial dispute in the West Philippine Sea? And can we have a power to fight against the Chinese? And how it is important for us to fight our territory in the West Philippine Sea? So according to Justice Secretary Antonio Carpio, if our government doesn't defend our territory in the West Philippine Sea, Manila will lose 80% um, 80% of exclusive economic zone, an area larger to country's total land area. That's why the West Philippine Sea is very important for us. And we have the power to fight against the Chinese because we have our allies. And if we persuade the ASEAN to stand up on this issue, it is a big victory for us because we have the international country at our back. As a Filipino, we should not ignore this issue. We should not let the Chinese to rule and claim our own land. We should not deprive the future generation of the Filipino and fight for our sovereign rights in the West Philippine Sea. Because if we don't, at the end, the Filipino fishermen will eventually lose their rights to our own territory. And we also see the impact of it because Chinese vessels gets overfishing and destroy our marine resources there. And for me, from the statement of President Duterte, war is not an option because we have our allies. They are willing to protect us. And I believe in saying that it is better to die than to be a prisoner of all days of your life by Bob Marley. And before I end this speech, I want to ask yourself, are you willing to die to fight for our sovereign rights in the West Philippine Sea? So thank you for listening and good morning.